On the very day my pregnancy was confirmed, I uncovered my husband's infidelity. The mistress audaciously sent me a video of their encounter, accompanied by a considerate provision of their location. As I stood at the hotel room door, I overheard my husband inside declare, "Once the company goes public and she loses her utility, I will divorce her. How could a destitute woman like her befit the role of a listed company president's wife?" Smiling, I entered abruptly with a group of media reporters. On the day Eric's company went public, Sabrina deliberately invited me, saying, "Poor wretch, I'll graciously allow you to glimpse high society." I scoffed. I typically do not attend events of this caliber, prompting laughter from those around us. However, I was interrupted by Manager Qin, seated at the banquet's central position, who rose respectfully and said, "Miss Vivian, I regret not having welcomed you sooner." Observing the entwined figures on my phone screen, I flushed with embarrassment and fumbled to close the video, only to hear a woman's coquettish voice persist, "Eric, do you love me or Vivian?" My fingers hesitated and halted. The man, facing away from the camera, remained unidentifiable, but I heard his breathless reply, "Naturally, it's you, you little temptress," followed by further sounds of intimacy, leading me to close the video with a complex expression. Due to the obscured face, I could not ascertain whether the male figure in the video was indeed my husband, Eric. With my husband's company nearing its public listing, the number of women vying for his attention naturally increased, raising the possibility that some, with ulterior motives, sent this video to sow discord between us, aiming to supplant me. I called my husband, and after a considerable delay, he answered, "Hello, honey, what's wrong?" "I just finished some company matters." I responded, "Come home for dinner tonight." "Well, honey, you know the company is about to go public, and I'm somewhat tied up," he said. "Come back, just for one night, it won't delay much," I insisted, adding, "Besides, I miss you." After a prolonged silence, he conceded, "All right, I'll return later." Upon returning home, I placed the pregnancy test report on the table and sat in the living room, lost in thought. Shortly thereafter, the sound of the door unlocking drew my attention, and as expected, I saw Eric. He changed into house slippers, washed his hands, and embraced me, asking, "Honey, are you unhappy today?" As he nestled his head in the curve of my neck, I tilted my head slightly, still affected by that video. "Honey, is it because I've been too busy lately and haven't spent enough time with you that you're upset?" He continued, "I bought you that trendy shops cake you wanted a while back, can you stop being mad?" I paused, glanced at the dining table, and indeed saw a small cake resting there. My heart softened instantly, convincing me I should trust him. "I'm not angry." "Hungry? Come eat quickly. After dinner, I have good news to share and something to confess," I said, patting his head before rising to fetch dishes from the kitchen, noting that my one-year agreement with my father had concluded. Eric followed me into the kitchen, hesitantly saying, "Honey, now that I'm capable, you shouldn't have to cook anymore, I feel bad for you." I covered my mouth and laughed, "It's fine, homemade food is healthier." "Oh," Eric replied listlessly. While ladling soup, Eric's phone rang. He answered, and soon, with an apologetic expression, said, "Honey, something's come up at the company, I have to go back." "Sorry," before grabbing his suit jacket and dashing out the door. "Hey!" I tried to stop him, but he left me only with his retreating figure and the sound of the door closing. I lowered my eyes, poured the second bowl of soup back into the pot, and ate dinner alone. After tidying the dishes, I sat on the sofa, intending to watch a show while eating the cake, but upon opening the box and seeing a pink cream cake, I was momentarily stunned. Strawberry flavored? Hesitantly, I scooped a piece with a fork, tasted it, and spat it out. It was indeed strawberry. I consistently prefer taro-flavored cakes and, moreover, am allergic to strawberries. My gaze shifted to the pregnancy test report beside the table. I was pregnant, a fact confirmed just today. As I left the hospital, intending to call Eric with the good news, I received an anonymous text message. The message contained a video, the same intimate scene I had inadvertently opened recently. I recalled that at its conclusion, the woman said, "Eric, I want a strawberry cake." "Okay, I'll buy it for you later," he replied. I touched my belly, unable to dismiss the suspicion this coincidence aroused. As I pondered, the sofa vibrated. I looked and found Eric's tablet left behind, displaying a Facebook message. "Where are you? I miss you," from a woman's profile labeled Miss Sabrina, client. Narrowing my eyes, I picked up the tablet and opened Facebook, discovering their conversation began an hour and a half ago, with earlier messages apparently deleted. "Miss Sabrina, client, it's my birthday today, and you're not with me. Also, where's the strawberry cake I wanted? You ran home after buying it, didn't you say you didn't want to go home? Answer the phone." After a while, Eric replied, "I'm coming to you now, don't be upset. I'll go back to Yentang District to buy you another cake as an apology." Yentang District hosts a popular cake shop I've long wished to try, but the round trip takes 2 hours by car, plus a lengthy queue. Once, craving it intensely, I pleaded with Eric to accompany me, but he said, "Vivian, it's just a marketing gimmick, 2 hours round trip, I could complete several plans in that time. It's a waste. Besides, I know you wouldn't want me to tire myself driving 2 hours, right?" Afterwards, he bought me a cake from a nearby random shop. It tasted awful, yet I finished it. I assumed his busyness diminished his former attentiveness, but evidently, he could make 2 trips in a day to the distant, time-wasting Yentang District to queue for another woman, revealing he always understood emotional value. He simply withheld it from me. Today, he bought the shop's cake to placate me, and I was briefly delighted and touched, unaware it was intended for his mistress. He returned only due to my call, casually giving me the cake, strawberry, my most disliked flavor, leaving me staring at the screen with stinging eyes. Eric promptly replied, "Be good, I'm driving and will be there soon, wait a bit." Miss Sabrina, client, then talked to me on the phone. "I want to hear your voice." Eric, "Okay." Eric never speaks to me on the phone while driving, even when my phone was stolen, leaving me utterly helpless. Penniless, I borrowed a stranger's phone to call Eric. He answered, "Hello, who's this?" and I sobbed, It's me." I told him I'd been robbed and asked if he could pick me up, begging him not to hang up, promising silence so as not to disturb him, as I desperately needed him then. He paused for 2 seconds, sighed, and said, "Vivian, safety first. Talking to you would impair my driving judgment. Since it's already happened, wait there, I can't leave now, but I'll send a driver later." No. "Just stay with me," I pleaded, but before I could finish, he hung up, leaving me with a series of cold beeps. I sat quietly on the sofa, lost in a daze for an unknown duration, when Eric suddenly initiated a video call. I hesitated for 2 seconds before accepting. Upon connecting, a woman's heavily made-up face appeared, clad in a disheveled black lace negligee, covered in kiss marks, smirking triumphantly at me. She mouthed, "Your husband is sleeping with me," as a man's hoarse, lustful voice called from behind, "What are you doing? Come here," prompting her to smile coyly and turn into the arms of the man on the bed. The phone was likely placed in a corner by the woman, but this time, I clearly saw the man's face. It was Eric. She had used his phone to call me, forcing me to witness their affair, and I ended the call, overcome with nausea, utterly repulsive. Checking the chat history, I saw she had also sent me a location and hotel room number from Eric's phone, with a note, "Sister, I left the key card at the front desk, if you want to see, come by. Always welcome." Gripping the phone, I laughed in furious disbelief. Eric's mistress was astonishingly brazen. I took a taxi to the address and, following the room number provided, stood at the door, hearing moans and gasps from within, my anger surging intensely. I made a call. "Where are you?" "Miss Vivian, we're downstairs." "Rest assured, with your command, we can ruin Eric today, make him headline news and universally despised." I smirked. "Come up, and be prepared, I want 360-degree, flawless footage." Before departing, I contacted private media writers. "Head to this address, I've got a major scoop for you." As I awaited their arrival, the noises inside persisted. "Eric, when will you divorce Vivian and marry me?" "Humph, after the company goes public and she's no longer useful, I'll divorce her." "How could a poor woman like her deserve to be a listed company president's wife?" I raised an eyebrow. "Me, poor? Ridiculous, but so be it. You've been married a year, don't you like her at all?" I used to see her in designer clothes, frequenting elite venues, and thought she was a wealthy heiress. After much effort to win her, I realized she's just a poor woman. If not for her friend promising investment, I'd have divorced her long ago. Have you ever been like this with her? How could she compare to your allure? She's dull and tedious. And whenever I tried intimacy, I'd smell kitchen odors on her. It's maddening, a constant reminder she's just a pauper. My nails dug into my palms. Clearly, Eric had once claimed he loved my cooking and wanted it daily. Thus, I transformed from a pampered heiress who never touched chores into a housewife skilled in diverse dishes, diligently studying recipes daily, my hands repeatedly cut and blistered. Due to my prior 1-year pact with my father, coupled with maintaining our household, I became frugal, only to be labeled poor by him, ultimately despised and reviled by Eric. I licked my molars. Why weren't the reporters here yet? If they delayed further, I'd lose control and storm in to thrash this vile pair. Their conversation droned on. I stepped back, closed my eyes, and waited. Such filth wasn't worth hearing. 2 minutes later, the reporters arrived, eagerly declaring, "Miss Vivian, we're ready." I smiled broadly. "If you're ready, then break it down." With a loud bang, the door was forcefully opened, and countless reporters flooded in. Camera flashes erupted incessantly as the room's lights flicked on, exposing Eric and the woman in naked entanglement. They stared in terror at the unfolding scene, taking a moment to react. The woman let out a panicked scream. Eric bellowed, "Who are you? Stop, don't shoot. I'll call the police." Both shouted frantically, yet no one heeded them. Eric threatened, "Aren't you afraid of detention? Leave now, delete all photos and videos, and I'll let it slide." I sneered from the crowd's rear. Eric wouldn't dare call the police, his company's imminent listing wouldn't tolerate such a scandal now. His response was met with another wave of photography and live commentary. A reporter stepped forward. "Mr. Eric, we understand you are married, yet the woman beside you is clearly not your wife, Mrs. Vivian. Why are you committing adultery now, and when did your relationship with Mrs. Vivian deteriorate?" Realizing the reporters wouldn't relent, Eric's eyes lit up upon hearing the question. "She is my wife Vivian. Get out, we're a legal couple engaging in normal relations." The flashes finally ceased, the reporters exchanged glances, then turned to me in unison. Clap, 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 I applauded, stepping forward as they parted to make way. "Vivian?" Eric looked at me, stunned. "Why are you here?" He hastily pulled the blanket over himself, shoving the woman aside. Sabrina, shocked, exclaimed, "Eric, you?" He slapped her, snarling, "Bitch. Stop yelling." Turning to me, "Vivian, Vivian. She seduced me, I love you. Believe me." "Eric, who am I?" He stammered, "Vivian, you're my wife." "Oh? Then who's she?" I pointed at the woman beside him, realization dawned, and his face paled as he surveyed the room. Flashes resumed, Eric shielded his face, yelling, "Vivian, get them out, I'm innocent." "I'll explain later." I giggled, "Explain what? Who wants your endless lies? Disgusting creature." Eric stared, shocked, "Vivian, how could you? How could I be so harsh?" Before Eric, I was always gentle, considerate, and never once angry. Because he'd said, "Vivian, I love gentle women like you," I'd nearly forgotten my once vengeful, justice-driven nature. "I'm leaving, you carry on," I waved to the reporters and stepped away. Eric's face darkened instantly. "Vivian, you're with them. You're dead." I picked my ear. "Adultery during marriage, the one facing ruin is you, Eric." My marriage to Eric ended in divorce. Citing his infidelity, I sought to leave him penniless as compensation for my emotional distress, only to find his assets already transferred. Eric sneered, "Don't expect a cent from me. A divorced, poor woman, let's see how you survive," revealing his vile true nature fully. "Also, I bribed yesterday's media, they've deleted all videos and photos. Vivian, your meticulous scheming is wasted. Don't you know what money can do?" "Oh, right, you've never experienced it, so how would you?" Even your friend said she won't pull her investment since you've fallen out. Haha, Vivian, I can finally divorce you without fearing her withdrawal. Sabrina, clinging to Eric's arm, boasted smugly, we're getting our marriage license tomorrow. Eric's company will soon go public, and I'll be the future president's wife. Vivian, you've lost big time. I narrowed my eyes, is that so? Congratulations. Returning to my previously purchased villa, I called my father. Dad, I've divorced Eric. He erupted, did that wretch bully you? Wait, I'll kill him now for daring to hurt my precious daughter. A wave of warmth surged through me, blinking back tears. I said, Dad, don't worry, I wasn't bullied. Don't bother coming, he's not worth your effort. Leave this to me, I'll handle it. After a long silence, he replied, you can deal with it, but promise me, if you face trouble, tell me. I nodded, okay. No sooner had I hung up than the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my best friend, Lena, storming in, visibly furious. She tossed her bag aside, pacing with hands on hips, ranting, I'm furious. I was blind to let you be with that scumbag Eric. I'm partly to blame, I even supported your investment in him. Arg, I'm so mad. Seeing Lena's angry regret, I smiled, sit down, my dear, you're making me dizzy with your pacing. Lena finally stopped, sat beside me, and hugged me. Woo-woo, Vivian, I'm sorry I didn't protect you better. I patted her head. Lena, how could this be your fault? Blame his masterful deception, we never imagined such malice or feigned affection. I met Eric 2 years ago, complaining to Lena about my boredom. She grinned, perfect timing, my friend invited me to dinner. Come along. Lena's friend invited several others, including Eric, then a recent graduate, youthful and naive, yet fervently warm toward people. Indeed, Eric fell for me at first sight, launching an ardent pursuit after that night, attentive, caring, gentlemanly, and handsome, stirring my interest. Lena diligently checked Eric's reputation, receiving positive feedback, and teased, he's a good one, give him a shot. So, I accepted his pursuit, and we became a couple. After nearly a year of dating, I brought him home to meet my father, who disapproved strongly, harboring a deep dislike for Eric. My father warned, he's not right for you, Vivian. This man is cunning, likely with ulterior motives. I dismissed it as bias, insisting, Dad, Eric will succeed, and parted with him on sour terms. He later relented, Vivian, I'll allow your marriage, but on one condition, for the first year, you mustn't reveal our family status. I'll freeze half your funds, and the rest is for your use only, not to support him. I agreed. How confident I was then, believing Eric unique, my judgment flawless, and my father's suspicions petty, convinced time would prove our love genuine. Bound by my father's terms, I curbed my spending. Gradually, Eric grew distant, less warm and attentive than before, which I chalked up to fading novelty, normal, I thought. To aid his startup, I turned to Lena. 3 years prior, we'd begun managing a company together, bolstered by our parents' funding and expertise, swiftly thriving within a few years. During a slump, Eric was despondent, lacking funds, resources, or connections to secure investors, so I offered my earnings to support his venture, arranging for my secretary to negotiate on my behalf since I couldn't appear directly. As his company progressed toward listing per our plan, bearing the fruit of our love, this betrayal emerged. Eric, from start to finish, was merely a self-serving opportunist. Vivian, Eric's company will use your investment to go public soon, withdraw it now. Lena urged angrily. I held her hand, calming her, no rush, strike when it counts. I've devised a plan to ensure he can't recover, forcing him to return every penny. 2 days later, I received an email containing an invitation to Eric's company listing, with a note, Sister Vivian awaiting you. Recognizing the snide tone, I knew it was from Sabrina and tossed it into the trash. I'd attend Eric's listing banquet, not via this taunting invite, but as their honored guest. Stepping from my Bentley, I encountered Eric and Sabrina entering. She sneered, Sister Vivian, latched onto a rich man, huh? Some old geezer, 60 or 70? She chuckled behind her hand, drawing onlookers' stares and whispers toward me. Eric grimaced, Vivian, I never pegged you for this type, such a sanctimonious facade before. Filthy mutt, what's that stench from your mouth? This is Vivian's own car. Can't stand others' success, barking nonsense everywhere, Lena snapped, slamming her door and striding toward me. Sabrina, not everyone's like you. Now, please step aside, I cut in, taking Lena's hand to head inside. Sabrina paused, then stepped back, musing, guests are here, naturally welcomed, smirking as she emphasized guests. Vivian, you actually showed such nerve. Since you're here, brace yourself for my gift, she whispered, her smile laden with intent. I frowned, what scheme was she hatching? Amidst clinking glasses and performances, guests lauded Eric and Sabrina as a perfect, talented pair. Sabrina approached gracefully with a wine glass, Vivian, hear that? They all say Eric and I are ideal together. Pity, his side was meant for you, but you're too easily riled. One video, and you threw caution away. Lowering her eyes, casting a shadow, she added, he wouldn't commit to marrying me, so I had to nudge him along. Clearly, I succeeded, lifting her gaze with a bold smile. Ignoring her, I let her ramble, a flicker of resentment crossed her eyes before she turned away. Moments later, oh, my ring's gone. Sabrina cried out nearby, it's my wedding ring with Eric, so important, so valuable, her voice trembling with sobs. People scrambled to search, someone asked, Madam, where were you just now? Feigning thought, Sabrina glanced at me incredulously, stammering, I only spoke with Sister Vivian earlier. But Sister Vivian wouldn't do that. Even if she envied my marriage to Eric, my role as president's wife, and the big diamond she never had, I trust her character. What a barbed performance. Madam's too generous, some, especially the poor, can't resist temptation, someone chimed in, eyeing me scornfully, her clothes and bag, probably some cheap trash. Whispers and snickers ensued. You lot are all talk, no sense. Vivian never cared for brands, her father hired top international designers for her bespoke wardrobe. How dare you slander her so? Lena snapped, fed up. A brief silence fell, some weighed Lena's words, others openly scoffed. Seeing this, Sabrina bit her lip, approached with teary eyes, pleading, Sister Vivian, I know you still love Eric and resent me, but you're divorced, it's over. He and I truly love each other. Sister Vivian, won't you return my ring? She extended her hands, piteously. I watched Sabrina's act with amusement, no wonder she and Eric were a pair, both skilled performers. I didn't steal it, I wouldn't stoop so low. Your petty ring means nothing to me. Her friend leapt in, pretending to be lofty and rich. Everyone knows you're just a lowly worker, dirt poor. Over the years, I told Eric I worked outside to explain my spending, but he never knew my true savings, I'd say just 20 or 30,000 when asked. The crowd echoed, return it to Madam, thief. I nearly laughed, couldn't they comprehend plain speech? Sabrina stepped closer, whispering maliciously, Pauper, today I graciously let you peek at high society, to make you regret and envy. Now you've seen it, scram, she sneered. I retorted, I don't usually bother with events of this level. I shoved Sabrina to the ground, slapping her, disgusting wretch. My patience snapped, no need to endure further. Ah. You dare hit me? Sabrina clutched her face, incredulous, the crowd gaped as her friend reacted, you bitch. Slap, I struck her too, their clamor was unbearable. Lena beamed, whispering excitedly, well done. This is the real Vivian, Grey Group heiress and JW Company president. What's happening? Eric approached, drawn by the noise, seeing the scene, he frowned, Vivian, what's this madness? Get it straight, your woman's the mad one. I won't tolerate baseless slander flung at me. It makes me unhappy, and when I'm unhappy, I strike, I waved my hand, grinning freely. How did you change so much? I've always been this way. Eric, Sister Vivian stole the ring you bought me, I begged for it back, but she refused and hit me, Sabrina rose, clinging to his arm, tearful. Vivian, hand over the ring, or I'll call the police. I told you, I didn't take it, I replied, irritation eroding my patience. At that moment, Manager Qin, from the banquet center, stood and hurried over, bowing respectfully. Miss Vivian, I only just saw you, forgive my belated welcome. The room fell silent, pin-drop quiet. Sabrina forced a smile. Manager Qin, have you mistaken her? Humph, mistake her? This is our president's treasure, the Grey Group heiress, he pointed at me emphatically. What? Grey Group? The one I know? There's only one Grey Group in the nation, top 3 in wealth and power. My God, if she's the Grey Group heiress, she wouldn't steal a ring. Eric gaped. What? Sabrina's face fluctuated between pale and flushed. I recall, I might have gone to the restroom, it could be there. Madam Sabrina, apologize, Manager Qin demanded sternly. I just misremembered. Her voice dwindled under Qin's piercing stare, and she reluctantly bowed her head. Sorry, I picked my ear, asking Lena, did you hear a mosquito just now? Pfft, the crowd stifled laughs. Someone remarked, slandering first, then a half-hearted apology, no manners. Manager Qin pressed, Mr. Eric, your wife's actions disrespect our president's daughter, gravely jeopardizing our partnership. Sabrina paled instantly. Before Eric could rebuke her, she blurted, sorry. Sister Vivian, it's all my fault, forgive me, shouting and sobbing. Stop calling me sister, my father has only one daughter, I said. Sabrina lowered her head. Yes. Miss, please take your seat, Qin offered. No need, Uncle Qin, I'm here to announce something. I surveyed the room. Lena handed me a microphone from the stage. I switched it on, smirking. Today, representing JW Company, I terminate our investment in Houchin Group, sparking an uproar like a stone in still water. Vivian's JW Company's president. Everyone knew JW was Houchin's largest investor, the rest were minor players. Oh, not quite, one more, Iway Company also ends its investment in Houchin Group. Now none remained. I looked at Manager Qin, surprised. He smiled faintly. Your father's wish, he instructed me to follow your lead today. Only today did I learn that, over 2 years, my father had secretly run another small company to support Eric. Though he doubted Eric, he loved me. No. Impossible. You, JW's president? Eric scoffed, I've met their president, it's not you. Vivian, don't bluff. Is it? I glanced back as a woman in a black and white dress approached. Eric guffawed, haha, Vivian, here's the real one. Cut off, the woman nodded to me, President. Eric froze. I smiled, meet my personal secretary. No, you can't. Rashly pulling funds, don't you fear industry backlash? Eric yelled. Ignoring him, I dialed my phone, make it trend now. Soon, the room buzzed with commotion. My God. Check online, Sabrina's the mistress, Eric cheated. Videos and photos too. Look at the screen. All eyes turned. The screen, once displaying listing success, now played an explicit video of a couple, crude words blaring through premium speakers across the hall. Isn't that Sabrina and Eric? God, shameless. I smirked, feeling utterly satisfied. Once I confirmed Eric's infidelity, I planned divorce. Discovering his assets fully transferred, I refused to suffer silently. I engaged the media, supplying materials with a deal. Later, feign being bought off by Eric, delete the footage, demand $5 million in hush money, and split it evenly with me. I chose the day of Eric's smug listing preparations to withdraw all investments, stripping him of power and wealth overnight. Today, I exposed their deeds, earning public scorn. Eric, Sabrina, this is your just desserts. Sabrina raged, don't look. No one look. Who's running the screen? Shut it off now. Eric stood like a pillar, gone, all his 2 years' work, vanished. His phone buzzed, he glanced down at my timed message, money can indeed do much, I've experienced it. His phone crashed to the floor as he roared, I'd turned his own words against him with today's reckoning. I paid little heed to what followed, only hearing vaguely that Eric begged for help, but no one partnered with him, and within a week, he was bankrupt. Sabrina's parents disowned her, stripping her heiress status, their home was repossessed, leaving them in a cheap, leaking rental. Thereafter, Eric often beat Sabrina in fits, muttering, "All your fault. If you hadn't exposed us, Vivian wouldn't have known, my company wouldn't have crashed, and I wouldn't be a pariah. I'd still be the Grey Group president's son-in-law. Bitch, I'll kill you." Eventually, Sabrina grew despondent, battered, she reported him, but with no solid evidence in a domestic dispute, it went unresolved. Once, shopping with Lena at the mall, overstuffed and strolling to digest, we unluckily crossed paths with them, laden with bags. I saw Eric dart from a nearby fast food joint. "Vivian, Vivian." "Ah." Lena, startled, kicked him, weakened by hunger. Eric stumbled from the blow. I evaded his reach, stepping back. Only then did I notice, in mere months, Eric had transformed, gaunt, dark, and menacing, far from his former youthful elite demeanor. "Vivian, it's Eric." I was wrong, I know it now. I was seduced into that huge mistake. "Forgive me, please. I'll reform, treat you well like before. Get lost." I said icily, moving to leave, but he blocked me, staring at my belly. "Vivian, you're pregnant." I glanced at my swollen abdomen. "This child's ours, right?" "Vivian, forgive me, I'll divorce Sabrina now, and we'll remarry, okay? A child so young needs a father. I swear I'll be a good husband and dad." He prattled on as Sabrina emerged behind him, listening silently. I met her gaze over his shoulder. Sabrina wore tattered clothes, her body bruised, with deep dark circles, disheveled hair, and pale lips. She returned my look quietly, her eyes a still well of lifelessness, devoid of the poise and pride from months past. "This is my child, not ours," I said. "Eric, block me again, and I'll call the police, you know I can have you locked up." Eric froze, reluctantly stepping aside, his face bitter. "Vivian, you're truly vicious." Passing Sabrina, I couldn't resist whispering, "If you want to divorce him, I'll wait here tomorrow at 9, I'll help you." A spark flickered in her eyes, quickly veiled. "Vivian, why help her?" Lena asked. "She erred and was punished, but I can't stand seeing a woman endure domestic violence with no recourse." At 9 the next day, I waited at the fast food entrance with a lawyer and 2 bodyguards. Sabrina arrived as promised, timid but approaching me. "Vivian." "I'm here," she murmured, clutching her close hem. "This is a professional lawyer, discuss in the car. She'll handle the rest, I'll cover the costs." I introduced the lawyer, then ordered noodles inside and ate breakfast. Their talk ended quickly, Sabrina's eyes red from recent tears. Before leaving, Sabrina stopped me. "Vivian, thank you," bowing deeply. I accepted it. Take care from now on," I said, rolling up the window, "let's go." Vivian's perspective. Initially, Eric raged when Sabrina sought divorce, choking her and threatening, "You've ruined me, you're not leaving." They went to court, Sabrina won, securing her divorce. She had her lawyer convey thanks to me, then left City A alone. Eric drank daily, boasting he was once the Grey Group's son-in-law, his company nearly listed, living aimlessly, adrift for half his life. 2 months before delivery, my father insisted I return home. One night, I gave birth to a girl. My father was ecstatic, first visiting my mother's grave with the news, then poring over dictionaries for 3 days and consulting masters to name her. "Amy, on the phone again." I tugged her ear, she whined, "Mommy, I just started. Grandpa said I could, woo-woo." I eyed my father, trying to fade into the background. "Dad. You can't always spoil her, too much phone time harms Amy's eyes." Cough, I know. "By the way, Vivian, Amy's nearly 5 now, and you're freer, why not try a new romance?" "Dad, you're so worried about my love life." "Of course, I don't want you alone forever." "Fine, relax, I found someone." His eyes sparkled. "Oh? Tell me more." 2 years younger, still in the early stages. "If it feels right, I'll bring him to meet you and Amy." "Ha ha ha, great." He beamed. "Just hope he's not intimidated, your career's soaring, nearly matching your old man." I put Amy's shoes on, smiling. Don't worry, we're equals. Come, Amy, let's go for a walk. Why not invite me? He grumbled jealously. Join us. We're dining at Michelin tonight. Coming.